Hello everyone and welcome to a review of Downforce The Wild Ride expansion. This is a brand new board, double-sided board, so two different tracks, one with jumps, one with savanna animals blocking your paths. Let's go through roughly how the expansion stuff works. I'm not going to touch on how sort of the base game works, but just what the expansion adds to it. And just know the expansion was provided to me for the review. So in the expansion is a double-sided board. One side has the jumps, one side has the savanna animals. There are also two power cards that once they've gone into the deck, you're not really going to notice them, but they do come out and a little extra variety is nice. Let's talk about the two maps though, because that's what you're actually here for, because they add the wildness to the wild rides. The Savannah map sees antelopes, elephants and snakes causing a little bit of disruption on the racecourse. These are some tiles, they're different sizes depending on the sort of animal they're going to be. The snakes are always on the corners and the elephants and antelopes are on the sort of straights. Well, what they do is they block a space, a slightly bigger than normal space. So in the antelopes one, for instance, it's a sort of equivalent to two of the normal spaces. They sit there and block the track until the person in the lead goes past them. Once you've passed that point, that animal moves on to the next spot, opening up this large spot so people behind can sort of catch up quicker. Instead of maybe spending that two movement, it's only going to be one movement to go through that bigger space. So you've got these sort of extra things that are blocking your path. Sometimes you are stuck behind, and this is going to sound weird, on this Downforce racetrack, you are stuck behind an elephant and another car and are unable to move your colour car when that card is played. And that's a really different and cool thing that's certainly not normal in Downforce. Normally you're just stuck behind other cars. But when it's moved on, it does mean that space is empty and has that bit of catch-up mechanism that really Downforce doesn't have that much. It means maybe you're slightly less likely to not finish the race, although we've still had some not finish the race. So I think it's less about slowing down the person in first and more giving slight catch up to the people behind, but these things are going to sort of slowly move down the board, always being in front of the first car. There's very little admin that you've got to do. It's simply once that car's passed, you move that animal to its next designated space. It's really obvious to see on the board, just from the board, where they're going to be next, because you can just follow it down the track. And well, yeah, it's a really cool sort of race that you're going to be doing and a nice new map. I think though, the jumps of the other side of the board are what people are going to be excited about. Across the Aloha Sands map are jumps. Some are mandatory because there's no way you can get sort of along the course further if you don't go over a jump, and some are not mandatory. You could weave your sort of way between the jumps, but you're gonna want to use them. The way they work is when you're about to move onto a jump, they've got a number and you need your car to have at least that movement left. Now the ramp space doesn't count as a normal space, but using it and landing on the other side of the jump counts as only one movement, but with that caveat that you have to have at least the movement. So let's say the jump is a 4. When you're moving onto the ramp to move to its sort of landing space, you need at least 4 movement to be able to use it. Now this creates two things. First of all, there's some patches where you can absolutely zoom across the track as you play maybe your big 8 card or just a standard like one with 5 or 6 on it, and you're just in front of a jump. So you can go flying over a jump and still make it a good way round the track with the rest of your movement, because the jump sort of and landing counts as only one space. But also it creates a few spaces where if you're playing a low number, because the player must use a jump, let's say the jump is a 3 and you have to go over the jump because there's no way around it on the course. If you're playing a card with a number that's less than 3, they're losing that movement. So it's another way that you can kind of make sure that your cards are going on your turn and maybe an opponent's one is stuck just in front of that jump because they haven't revved the engine enough to be able to make it over, sort of thing. So there's some nice little sort of opportunities there not only to go flying over these jumps, but also to burn cards where it might be helping an opponent. Assisting you getting around the track is the fact that there's a few locations on the board where if you're playing a really high numbered card, you can actually use multiple jumps in a row. Now, yeah, you can't have them sort of be blocked by another player and stuff like that, so it's not guaranteed, but there are real opportunities to either pull away from the rest or catch up with the person in front by just chaining some of these ramps together. Even right sort of on the almost finish line, you come round the final curve and there is a jump. If you can time that jump correctly, not only will you go flying over it, sort of skipping a number of spaces, you'll probably have enough oomph to get over the finish line as well. So someone that's taken the corner and gone along the normal racetrack because they weren't able to use that jump, it's just that bit riskier, and it means right to the very end you don't know quite who's necessarily going to finish first. Obviously, Downforce you don't have to finish the race first to win, but it's still normally a good chunk of sort of winning money if you do. So as you can tell, I very much enjoyed playing the maps, but there are a couple of downsides. Now, there's also some sort of things that mean it's not the end of the world, but let's touch on the ramps for a start. I think these are going to get damaged and sort of show wear and tear very quickly. For instance, a couple of my ramps, because you have to sort of do this sort of folded cardboard to make the ramp, they do fit in the box. They're all like with the boards, they all fits in the box nicely once you've sort of ditched the original insert. However, even just making those ramps, a couple of them, the cardboard just sort of pulled away a little bit, and you can probably see in the picture that I'm showing, it just means that I don't think the jumps are necessarily going to survive sort of coming out of the box in and out all that often. You're not exactly using them, you're not actually ramming your car up the ramp, they're just sitting there on the board. So I think those ramp token sort of cardboard things, they're gonna show, well, they already do, to sort of after only a couple of plays, show a bit of wear and tear. Thankfully, the board actually has the jump things printed on them. It's not that you randomize them or anything, but I would maybe have liked to have been able to take those jumps and use them on maybe another map, like the original map, just to shake it up a bit. And you can't really do that because A, the wear and tear, and well, it just doesn't quite work the way it's sort of been made. It's very much you're going to use the jumps on this one map, and I would maybe have liked A, them to be a bit better quality so they wouldn't show wear and tear, and B, the rules are just made for this map. It also is a little weird that while you've got these sort of 3D ramps, you don't have 3D animals. I think it would have been a nice sort of extra visual thing. It's just sort of you've got these cardboard tiles that you're putting on the tracks for the antelopes, the elephants, the snakes, and I just wish that maybe there was like a sort of 3D cardboard elephant that you're adding on top of that tile. I think it would have just made the board pop that little bit more. It would just be a sort of nice to have. If you own the base game of Downforce, is it worth actually picking up an expansion? I would say yes. If you're getting the game played regularly, then it adds a lot of coolness. The jumps certainly add a lot of excitement. Even if you're hardly using the jumps because you're sort of weaving around them, there's definitely the fun and opportunity of them there. And the sort of snakes and elephants getting in the way and then moving out and having sort of quicker routes because of that, that's a bit of a catch-up mechanism that's been sort of thrown in there. I like both of them, and I think most people will buy the expansion because of the jumps. I don't know which one people will actually end up enjoying most. Compared to sort of like the original maps, having those twists make them stand out a little bit more than just being visually different but just racetracks. And I think Downforce is all about that. And I've really enjoyed the Wild Ride expansion. I can definitely recommend it for Downforce lovers and players because more variety with some nice twists that excite players. It certainly means like when you're explaining it, people get a bit more excited. Oh, there's jumps, than just it's a racetrack. And you can definitely play this with brand new players. They're not adding really any extra, they're adding like one extra rule. Be it moving some animals or this is how a jump works. So you can definitely just use them with brand new players, which is always a plus. Let me know if this review has helped you know if the expansion's for you or not. Let me know if you've played it and what you thought of it in the comments section below. Until next time, have a wild ride-filled good day.